Landscape photography is a powerful way to connect with nature, a reminder of how small we are in the vast world around us. When it comes to landscape photography in Australia, there's arguably no better place than the iconic Great Ocean Road and Otways. A Photographer's Guide to the Great Ocean Road and Otways by Samantha Olsen is a book that provides everything you need to know about 152 different shoot locations, from the best times of day to visit, the ideal seasons, tide heights, drone regulations, even whether you can bring your dog. It's your ultimate guide to photographing the Great Ocean Road and Otways safely and creatively. 4 years of research went into this book, uncovering hidden locations and determining the best and safest times to visit each one. Those of you with limited time, this book will help you make the most of every moment you have. Whether you shoot with a DSLR or mirrorless camera, or if you're planning to visit the Great Ocean Road or Otways, this book can be your essential companion. Here's what you'll find inside: 152 shoot locations, a location breakdown separated into accommodation areas for easy planning, skills for great landscape images focused on seascapes and waterfalls, weather and tidal information. With 750 pages of information and over 1,000 full-colour images and diagrams, this book is a treasure trove of knowledge. This how-to photography guide, combined with a travel guide, all in one beautifully crafted book, gives you everything you need so you don't waste a moment of your trip. So, don't miss out. Visit Kickstarter.com and search for Great Ocean Road book to get your copy today. Choose a package that includes a physical hardcover book to enjoy all the beautiful images, plus an ebook so you can take this guide with you wherever you go. Get ready to discover the Great Ocean Road like never before. Hello and welcome to Landscape Photography World, a podcast for everyone passionate about landscape photography. I'm Grant Swinburne and I'll be your host on this show, talking to landscape photographers about their motivations, likes and dislikes. Nick Hanson, a multi-award winning photographer based on the Isle of Skye, shares his journey from wildlife photography in southwest Scotland to mastering the art of landscapes. Now leading workshops and tours, he reflects on the role of the environment in shaping his work, the importance of planning and patience, and his commitment to self-learning. Nick discusses career-defining moments, his transition into professional photography, and the joys of teaching others. He offers practical insights into capturing Scotland's rugged beauty, balancing creativity with technical precision, and the challenges of working in unpredictable conditions. I hope you enjoy the show. G'day, Nick. Welcome to Landscape Photography World. How are you going?
Hi, Grant. I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, very good, very good.
Good. Thank you very much for inviting me. I've been looking forward to this. It's my first
Yeah,
proper I'll say proper podcast.
I don't know if it's a proper podcast. I can be very improper at times, but let's try and have some fun regardless.
Yeah.
Have a bit of a chat about our favourite topic, which is landscape photography. So
Yeah, sure.
why is landscape photography your favourite topic?
Oh, partly because of the Isle of Skye where I live. Back in the day, I did a lot more wildlife photography actually in my earlier days, and then I got the job to move up to Skye and become part of Skye, what is now called Skye Photo Academy.
Yep,
And I was doing seascape and landscape back before I got the job here, but I was doing a lot of wildlife. That was really my bag, shall we say.
sure.
Yeah, so I got the job to come up here, and it's evolved from that, doing more and more landscapes, less wildlife. So I've
Yeah.
become really more interested in landscapes.
Wow. Okay. So what got you into photography right at the beginning? What was it that sort of said, okay, picking up that little black box with a
Yeah.
lens on it is something I want to do for the rest of my life?
I always, when people ask this, I think it was around the age of 14, 15, 14 and 16, from birthday money, parents, aunts, uncles, whatever, gave me money. And collectively, I just used that to buy a first compact film camera. So it's maybe
Oh,
showing my age a bit.
I'm,
Although it's 37 years ago, there you go, do the maths.
uh,
So, it was just a compact film camera, fixed lens, probably 28 mil. At the time, I was living in southwest Scotland, so just rolling countryside, farmland, and distant hills. So with a 28mm lens, I was just shooting anything and everything, thinking I was taking landscape photos of the sunset, which was like a pinprick on that in the print in the end. So it just evolved from there over the years, just progressing, buying different cameras, a 35mm SLR with just
Hmm.
the one lens, or film SLR, which is a Praktica BX20. I think it's a German
Okay.
brand.
Yeah.
I either had a 35mm or a 50mm lens. And yeah, I guess from that point is when it really took hold. Obviously, having the SLR, learning about exposure, because this was completely manual camera, manual focus, light, didn't even have a light meter inbuilt into it. So I had to buy a handheld light meter, which
Oh,
is a
wow. Yeah.
Sonic, Iconic something or other. And yeah, then it just progressed into wanting autofocus cameras. So it was autofocus film cameras,
Yep.
digital SLR, and now mirrorless. So yeah, it's been over the course of, let's say, 35 years.
Yeah, wow. Okay. And what about learning the craft? Obviously, you've put the hours in over that
Hmm.
amount of time to
Yeah.
learn it. Are you self-taught? Did you go to school? How did you get to be as good as you are now? Because nobody comes out of the womb with a camera in their hand.
So no formal tuition, formal kind of degree or course or
Oh,
anything from college or that. I was never really naturally artistic or creative as a youngster. I loved the outdoors,
mm.
but my hobbies were anything from karate to archery back in the day. So there was no kind of creative thing. So, oh, sorry, I've lost track of what the question was.
It was how.
How do I learn? Yes, sorry, yes. So I just self-taught, picking up the camera, just learning how to use the camera. There's no
Sure,
better way, I suppose, especially I think a lot of people probably learn by doing. I've never been able to learn a great deal of things by textbooks or anything like that. It's just
sure.
getting out there, using the camera. When I got into the wildlife photography, I would come up. So I originally from Southwest Scotland, moved down to England when I was 17. I will say, unfortunately, moved down to England. That's for another day. And so I would come back up to Scotland and I would hire wildlife guides, especially a gentleman called Neil McIntyre, who lives up in the Cairngorms. I don't know if you even know the name. And so I would use Neil's services to take me to the location. So there was never formal tuition. It was more about the technique of stalking the animal,
Yeah,
finding your subject and whatever. So nothing really to do with the using of the camera. But obviously, there's a lot to be said for especially wildlife photography, being able to find your subject in the first place.
yeah,
So yeah, just by doing, really. And I think for a lot of people it probably is quite the same, just getting out there, doing it for themselves. And yes, we do have people come on workshops. They want to learn. They may struggle with composition or
sure,
depth of
sure.
field, wherever it may be, and they'll learn that from the workshops that we do here on Skye. But yeah, just no formal tuition at all, really.
Okay. And what was the first inspiration to get into landscape photography and that shift? Or I might say because you still do some
Yeah.
wildlife, so it's not a shift away from it. But I guess more of a focus into exploring landscapes rather than the wildlife that live in them.
Yeah, so it's quite an interesting question that because when my family first moved away from Scotland, the area I lived in was called basically Peterborough, and it's flat as a pancake
Oh,
for
well,
miles. Just there's no. At the time, I thought there was no landscapes, but since then, I've seen some people on YouTube who either live near Peterborough or shoot near Peterborough, shoot woodland photography. I'm thinking, I never knew that existed. I was
yeah,
concentrating on the local wildlife, whether it be in the local kind of country parks, shooting the wildfowl, ducks, geese, whatever, rabbits, roe deer, and things like that. So then going back up to Scotland to see family, then the landscapes would come out in that respect, and obviously coming up to the Cairngorms to photograph the wildlife. We're in mountainous areas, so I would do a bit of landscape whilst I was doing the wildlife as well. But it was more when I moved up to the northeast of England, where my mum now lives, 2010 to go to university as a mature student. She lives on the coast, so beautiful beaches and things like that. So I really got into coastal photography, doing bits of long exposure and what have you. Badly, shall I say, to begin with. Everything was like a 10 stop filter, 30 seconds, a minute long. Let's push the shutter as long as we can go type thing. And yeah, when I look back at those photos, I really do cringe at some of them when I realize how much I enjoy doing the shorter long exposures. So yeah, just that was that. I guess that was maybe the turning point. Moving up to the northeast of England was a bit more of, I'd say, from the beaches and a bit more in terms of better countryside, rolling countryside there, which has a lot of potential. And then, yeah, moving up to Skye 2016. So I'm now in my ninth year on Skye. So it really has took hold in those kind of 8.5 years, the
Mm.
landscape side of it. From 35 years of taking photographs, it's only really been really in the last 9 years that the landscapes have really took hold with me.
Yeah. You raise an interesting point there, and it's one I've talked about on the podcast. And in fact, it's part of the reason why I started the podcast back in
Hmm.
the days of the pandemic. And that is the place that you live influences both what, but also how you shoot.
Yes.
I feel. And it certainly influenced me. During the pandemic, we were in a lockdown period of 165 days where
Right.
you couldn't move more than 5 kilometers away from your front door.
Yeah.
And in terms of that, for me, I live in suburban Sydney, and it's not something that I'm passionate about photographing. I know there's a lot
Yeah.
of people that love photographing the banal and the suburban landscapes and shopping centres and
Yeah.
service stations and all that sort of thing. That's just not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the nearest thing to nature we've got is it's a strip of sort of woodlandy park, but it's quite dense undergrowth, so
Right.
it's really confusing to try and take photos. And the creek that runs through it is just brown sludge and it flows
Ah,
very slowly. So it's not something that I'm passionate about shooting. And I guess what you were saying there, living in Peterborough, is not seeing the landscape. As I
mhm.
say, I know that if I really pushed myself hard, I could go out and find something, but
Yeah.
I'd have to think about it as opposed to being passionate about going and finding
Mm.
those things. How has that sort of thinking developed for you in terms of seeing landscapes in a different way as opposed to when you were living in Peterborough, for example, saying, "Oh, there's nothing here to shoot."
As you've as we mentioned, I live on the Isle of Skye. Excuse me. So
Everything's easy. You step out the door,
it
you
is
take a shot,
pretty
and
much. We were even photographing the setting sun from the bedroom window this evening. It doesn't get much lazier than that, really. It's just the way that there was a band of rain moving across, and you had kind of a yellowy, orangey glow, and there's a little island that sticks between, so I can see the sea. It's a sea loch, and then there's another peninsula of Skye, the Waternish Peninsula. So there's a little island which sits between the two bits of land, at the end of what I can see, the sea, and then the next peninsula. I said the band of rain, the beautiful clouds and dark, broody clouds. It's almost too easy for me. Having this is really has developed what I want to photograph. The mountainous area. We've got mountains here. Even I live 15 minutes from a place called the Kerrang. I don't know
uh-huh.
if you're familiar with that
Yeah,
area.
familiar with.
It's a 15-minute
Never
drive
been,
for
but
me.
I've seen many photos there.
And if you go to my website, my Instagram, you pretty much see Kerrang. It gets a bit boring after a while, I think sometimes Kerrang, 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 Kerrang. But it's a 15-minute drive for me. I can look out my window and kind of get a good idea of whether it's actually worth going for sunrise. So I don't have to necessarily always plan 2, 3 hours in advance where I'm going to go. And I'm still exploring the area. So much to offer that I'm finding new places. After 8 years, I'm finding new viewpoints to shoot from. But outside of that, the other areas of Skye, I've just been over to the Northwest Highlands last week. Well, we were hoping to do some mountain photography, but winds of 50, 60 mile an hour. It's not really conducive to going up mountains. And excuse me if I've digressed from your actual
Oh,
question.
that's all good.
Just sometimes go off on a tangent when I
This
get
this
talking
this
about
is meant to
landscape
be a free
photography.
form chat, so not a it's not a strict formula.
Yeah. But yeah, I have it easy. Let's put it that way. People say you're lucky to be living here. I don't think I'm lucky to be living here. I'm privileged to be lucky working here. How I got my job was, I guess it's serendipitous how I got the job. I can talk about that if you want at some point.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm very privileged to live here for the last 8.5 years. And I think that's what's developed my real passion for landscape photography. And I still do the wildlife now and then when I can, or yeah.
What was the first landscape you captured that you just said, okay, this is it? What was that like when you were standing
Ooh,
there, seeing it and feeling it at the time?
probably would have been the Kerrang actually.
Okay.
Although now living in the northeast of England, the seascapes, who doesn't love the sea? You know, when
Yeah.
you've got a, so this is on the eastern side of the UK, and a beautiful sunrise, whether you've got cirrus clouds that are catching the light or whatever, and then the waves coming in, just being in that moment, the sound of the sea and everything just comes together. I can remember I was actually showing someone, my girlfriend, a photograph today that I'd taken up there.
Yeah.
And it was one of those wow moments. I'd actually just got a new lens as well, a new wide angle lens. And I got this, what for me was a beautiful photograph with the pinky skies and what we call the swoosh. I don't know if you've heard that term before, the swoosh.
Yep.
When the sea's coming in and you capture it. And I think it was like a half-second exposure. And yeah, that for a moment, it was partially about the lens, but also about this moment that I had captured. I was like, yeah, I'd gone from doing those 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute, however long exposures to like a half-second exposure. But then coming, I say again, I'm going to keep coming back to this, coming up to Skye. I think the first location I went to, and I've been up to Skye a couple of times before this, before actually moving up here, but it wasn't purely landscape photography. It was holidays with ex-wife, what have you. And then going up to the Old Man of Storr, I think that was the first location I went to when I moved to Skye. And it was actually because I moved up here in March of 2016. So it was winter. So we can still get wintry conditions up until any time in April on Skye.
Yeah.
And it was covered in snow. And I was like, wow. So one thing I haven't mentioned is I'd never been up a mountain before I
Okay.
moved to Skye. Old Man Stor's not necessarily a mountain. People call it a mountain, but you're going quite high. It's a
It's
steep
a bit of a climb.
walk up there. Yeah. It's just not necessarily a mountainous area, but
Yeah.
for me to go up there and say it wasn't the best sunrise or anything, but just seeing those rock structures, the landscape. I still took photographs. There was no light or anything. So it was black and white.
Mm.
And it was like, yeah, this is for me.
Nice.
And I'd actually been to, oh, I was going to talk about the day I'd actually did a workshop with Marcus, who I now work for. That's how I got the job. And he took me to the Kerrang for sunrise.
Yep.
I'd never actually been to the Kerrang before. Excuse me. I had a cold last week. So I'd never actually been to the Kerrang before actually moving up to Skye. I've been to the Old Manor Store and I've been further south on Skye. And yeah, again, that was out of this world. And then so then being able to go to that as often as I could, as
Yeah.
often as I can, outside of doing workshops.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important to have goals in your photography, and do you set yourself creative goals at all?
Yeah. So I'm very much prefer to plan my photography outings. I have a goal in mind, most likely a shot in mind that I've got. Yeah, you'd say I guess there's two main categories of photographers, people that are landscape photographers, people that react. They go out there and then they'll just react to the conditions that are happening, which I
Sure.
will do, obviously now and again. Last week, like I said, I was in the Northwest Highlands. We were out walking. We were hoping for rainbows. So there was some planning. We
Yep.
knew we were going to go. We were going to have the sun behind. We knew we had to have the sun behind us. So we were going to go to a location where if the rainbow came out, it would be good. So that bit of planning there. So yeah, I prefer to plan my shoots.
Okay.
Yeah, so for the Kerrang, again, for the Kerrang, for instance, people are going to get bored of hearing this location on Sky, the Kerrang. I say there's plenty of space, places that I like to shoot from there, of finding more. And I've got a few shots in mind that I want to try and get before the end of the winter because of the position of the sun.
Yeah.
The sun's rising quite far south at the moment. In the summer, it rises very far north. So obviously, as the angle changes, certain viewpoints don't work in the same way because of the direction of the light. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
very much a planner
Yeah.
and have
Okay.
a goal in mind.
I'm interested in that planning process. Are you studying maps and
Yeah.
looking for those out of the way locations, or is it how do you go about it? That's what my question is.
Yeah.
What is your process for planning?
There will be various ones. So you touched upon maps there. So yeah, whether that be physical maps, my book course over there, I've got several what we call Ordnance Survey maps. It's the main
Yep.
mapping in the UK or Harvey maps. So you look at that and get an idea of, as long as you know how to understand a map with the contours and whatever, then Google Earth, things like that, gives you a bit more detail, especially when you're talking hilly areas or mountainous areas, it gives you a rough idea of how it'll look.
Yeah.
And then after that, if I'm only using those, one or both of those, it will be a case of, okay, where will the sun be positioned? Will tomorrow, the next day, will it be ideal for that location? So that will be either photo pills,
Yep.
photographers ephemeris, what have, looking at the position of the sun.
Sure.
But if I can, for me, there's no better way than actually physically being there.
Yeah.
I know we can't all do that. We can't go to,
Yeah. But when it's a 15-minute drive, you can. Yeah.
yeah. For last week again, the Northwest Highlands, we went to a place called Torridon. We've been there before, so we knew a couple of locations we wanted to go back to, but some of the mountainous areas we hadn't been to. So it was a case of looking at the map, even just down to the wind, the direction of the wind, because we had 50-mile-an-hour winds on the other occasions. Okay, the wind's coming from the south. If we're here, we'll be sheltered. I say again with the sun, be behind us. We might get a rainbow because it's a rainy day. Yeah, I do prefer to be able to wreck your location, but obviously that's not always possible. Yeah, the next best thing really is maps and I'll say Google Earth.
Sure. And does that help with the pre-visualization, that recce of saying, okay, well,
Mm.
I know where I'm going to be standing. I can almost tell you exactly where I'm going to put the tripod or where I'm going to
Oh yeah.
stand to get this shot.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So you're actually knowing beforehand, and then it's just about the light and conditions.
Yeah, I have an idea. Obviously, it may not. Obviously, you can pre-visualize as much as you can without
Yeah,
having the light there.
what the weather be.
Yeah. So the main variable is light. So how the light will actually hit the landscape. So I don't know if you're
Yeah.
aware, Photographer Ephemeris has an app called TPE 3D.
Yep.
Is available on the mobile devices, and as you scroll through the day, it gives you a rough idea how the light will fall on the landscape. So I may turn up the following day and it not quite hit, maybe whether it's the foreground, the background, the midground, the way I want to. So I may have to change
Sure.
my positioning, move around some foreground, or not include the foreground, whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, and there was one particular shot when I came up here to do the workshop with Marcus. I just said to him, any more kind of recommendations for this kind of area, which was the Kerrang? He said, look, just go up onto the ridge, you'll find plenty of things. So I went up the following day, found where I wanted to stand
Mhm.
the following day, as long as the weather forecast did play ball, and lucky enough it did. I knew exactly where I wanted to stand. Say
Yeah.
whether that would be the case or not, but it just so happens it was the bit that I had taken a snapshot. I think it was either on my phone or on the camera, remind myself of what I wanted, and yeah, it all came together that following day. I can pre-visualize as much as we can, but when it comes to light, we're at the hands of I guess it's the clouds. It's how the clouds will direct
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
sunlight. Because I don't want blue sky days. I want cloud, mood atmosphere. So
Yeah.
it's how the clouds are, the breaks in the clouds directing the sun onto the landscape that you want to photograph.
Do you ever do a blue sky day if that's all you've got for a week or two?
I will do, especially in the mountains. So
Yeah.
we were talking last week with this one particular mountain, and it's called Anchalak. We tried it last summer. We didn't get a damn view. We were just in the clouds. We knew it was
Right.
going to be very much a 50-50. You can only go as far as what the forecast is telling you. We're using
Yeah.
three, four, five different sites, anything from the mountain weather forecast to Met Office mountain weather and what have you. And we're just in the clouds. So we've seen online the views, but we
Yeah.
just didn't get them. So we said, as long as the winds are not too strong this time, even if it's a blue sky day, we'll give it a go. Because if you get that beautiful orange glow with those layers of the mountains in the distance, you're going to get great shots. But it was just too windy. The weather forecast didn't play ball for us this time. It might become our Achilles heel, this mountain, but we'll keep trying each other time. We're planning maybe for May this year. We'll
Yeah.
hopefully be more settled.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think you make an important point is going back if you're not getting what you want is if you can.
Yeah.
For me to trip over to Skye would be a little challenging, but
Yeah. And
next
that's what, sorry.
I was going to say next time I'm in the UK, I'm planning to do a bit of Scotland. I haven't worked out an itinerary yet, but
Yeah,
probably
give us a shout.
later this year. But yeah, just trying to work out where we want to
Mm.
head. But I think you're right. That point of being able to go back, if you can, really makes a big difference to being able to
Oh,
get the shots that you want.
for sure. Yeah. And there's three key things for me. There's patience, persistence, which I guess comes into patience. Well, I guess it's two things, patience and persistence. So patience when you're there waiting for light, and
Sure,
persistence, just
sure.
keep returning if you can. So I completely understand a lot of our customers are from outside of the UK, our workshop customers from the US, whatever. Even I had a couple, was it last year? They were from Australia, but they were lucky. They were actually here for a month.
Oh wow.
So they
Yeah.
just based
Nice.
themselves here for a month, and I had them for 5 days over the month. So it spread over 4 weeks,
Mhm.
which was great for them because we could do a bit of the tuition and they'd go away and spend their days, putting that into practice. So they could return to locations, but not everyone can come for a month, can they? You might only
No,
get
no,
two
it's
weeks or
not
whatever.
always. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
always possible.
But yeah, I mean, if you do come to Scotland, even if you don't come to Skye, just fire us an email and hopefully I'll be able to give you some suggestions where to go.
Yeah, that'd be great. I've been to Scotland before, but it was
Right.
definitely a family trip. We were doing a bit of a lap, and I got a little bit of photography in, but not as much as I'd like, or not.
Yeah, family commitments and everything, isn't it?
That's it. But that's what happens when you're traveling with your family, I
Mm.
guess. Do you have a particular style or a particular thing that you're trying to express through your photography?
I've had people ask me that before, and I don't think I have a style, but
Hmm.
my other half, she says she can tell if Nick Hanson photograph.
Yep.
What that means, I don't know. Whether it's the processing, I don't deliberately go out of my way to, I don't have any presets or anything that I use
Sure, sure.
in Lightroom. I guess predominantly moody atmospheric shots,
Yep.
which in turn may not necessarily be something that someone would hang on their wall because it's not the necessarily happy photographs. Now and again, shoot the happy photographs. If I'm in a location and that's what I get. But I guess my style, you may call it, is the moody atmospheric. But I say in terms of my processing style, I don't necessarily go by emotion or anything or how I felt on the day or anything like that. It's just for the most part, I want to convey what I saw at the time, not necessarily how I felt or anything like that. And I just want to call me a purist or whatever. It's replicating what was there at the time. Unless, of course, I go black and white, then you can go as contrasty or whatever it is you want that's within the capabilities of the raw file.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In terms of where you see your photography in your photography journey from beginner moving through landscape into moving through wildlife into landscape, etc. Where do you see your photography going in the next few years? Are you going to be more of the same, more experimental, change it up a bit,
Uh,
do
I want
cityscape?
to, I want to do more mountain photography. So,
Oh,
I'd say before I moved to Skye, I had been up a mountain, and excuse me, I don't go into mountains on my own. I prefer to have someone with me, whether
sure.
that's just be from the security aspect from not doing mountains before I moved to Skye. So I still need the experience, shall we say, especially in winter. I have the gear. I'm learning how to use the gear, ice axes, whatever. I use crampons and what have you. So I want to do more mountain photography for sure. Experimental, not necessarily. I've dabbled in ICM. You may have seen the odd bit on my Instagram. I've done some of that. But yeah, maybe more, definitely more mountain photography and more away from Skye. I am aware that I spend too much time at a particular location of Skye that I've
Yeah, but you
mentioned so
live
many
there, so
times
it's
already.
naturally going to
It's
be
my
where.
home away from home, really. I've got enough almost enough photographs that I've been toying with the idea. I would like to do a book on the Quran. Whether it
Yeah,
was something that would sell or not, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to do one just for myself. I want to do one that if I knew that it would sell,
sure,
that I
sure.
would do that. But I need to fill some gaps. But I want to do some more my own photography outside of Skye. So I'll say we're in the Northwest Highlands. I know the Cairngorms pretty well, which is on the eastern side, the eastern mount. I not exactly the Highland, eastern mountains on Skye. Sorry,
Yeah,
on Scotland, and then a place called the Trossachs. I know that pretty well. So I'd like to spend more time in these areas. But because of the job I do, some people might think I'm a photographer. I can do it whenever I want, but I'm a photographic guide. I run workshops. I'm going to be busy next week. Then I'm going over to the Outer Hebridean Islands, Iris and Lewis guiding over there. I'm in the US the start of April. It sounds such a bad life, doesn't it?
terrible.
But to concentrate on my own photography, I take my best photographs when I'm able to concentrate. When I take photographs sometimes we're on these trips. Once the customers are all set up and they're happy and whatever, I'll grab some shots. But it's not necessarily my best shots. I'm taking snapshots to share on social media. This is what we did today or whatever.
Sure,
So
sure.
yeah, I would like to. I do the US trip. I've done it two times already. I'm doing it again this year, and I'd love to go back to the Utah Badlands. I don't know if you know the area at all. It's a
Yeah.
stunning area. I've been there twice. I'd love to explore it more by
I've
myself.
never understood why people call it the Badlands because I think they're awesome, awesome land.
Yeah, I thought they were the only Badlands, but there's
Oh
Badlands all
no,
over the
yeah,
world. There's in Spain, in
yeah,
Canada, and various places in the US. I don't know if there's any in Australia at
yeah.
all.
There's a few places where you can get
Right.
those similar sort of. You don't get so many hoodoos, but you do get those sort of lunette landscapes, the
Yeah.
crenellations and everything.
Yeah,
It's
so it's all that kind of same landscape, isn't it? It's the same type of landscape, and that
yeah.
they've been given what
I guess it's
whatever
had
reason that
farming,
name.
maybe. I don't know. Yeah. What does success look like for you in your photography?
I guess success with me is the fact that I got this job.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's talk about that, shall we? 2015, August 2015, I was a hobbyist. It
Yep.
was my passion. I was a web developer. So I've been in
Okay.
IT since the age of 17 in various forms. And I came up here. I was actually going, so if you imagine I lived, don't know, so how this is going to cover some video. So I was living on the eastern side of the UK, so northeast England. I was actually not going to go up to the Cairngorms. So north where I lived was here. So Cairngorms, basically pretty much straight up.
Right up. Yep.
I thought it's been a while since I've been to Skye. I've been two or three times beforehand. I'll make a detour to Skye. So where I lived, Cairngorms, Skye is over here. So it was like rather big detour before I got to the Cairngorms.
Sure.
So I did a Google research like we all do. You go into a location, you want to book a workshop with someone. I wasn't even aware of my, if you listen to this, I wasn't even aware of Marcus McAdam at this point. And he came up top in Google, booked a workshop with him. So we did a sunrise and a sunset workshop. So during the sunrise workshop, it was the usual, what do you do for a job, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't really enjoy my web development job. But the beauty of it was I was actually only working 3 days a week by choice. So that I could spend the next 4 days or the other 4 days concentrating on my photography.
Mm.
And during the sunset workshop, he said, obviously, we were talking this morning about what you do and whatever. You obviously don't really enjoy doing what you're doing. I don't know why you're on the workshop. I really like your approach to photography, how you go about getting a photograph. I've seen your website. Would you be interested in moving to Skye?
Wow.
Okay, so that I guess is a sign of success. I guess it's a sign of success. Someone saw something in my photography. I always say he was desperate at the time. He needed someone to come to Skye to help run the landscape workshops. Because my colleague Harry, who was really quite young at the time, he was in his first year on Skye, but he was actually brought here to do wildlife workshops. So he'd already had a wildlife guy,
So he didn't need
a
another one,
wildlife
but he
guide.
got
No,
another one.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that was a sign of success for me doing that. And it's only really grown from there. I don't know whether it's really success, but I might, don't know whether I'm actually getting this wrong or not. But for me, in terms of my job, it's more a pleasure thing, I suppose. I get pleasure out of guiding the customers, seeing them have that light bulb moment, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And that in a way is a success because I know that I'm doing my job. So in terms from a job aspect, that's that. But in terms of my own photography, I don't necessarily go seeking. I don't think you really can really see success in likes on Instagram or anything. I don't really go looking for. I Instagram the other week I got up to 10,000 followers, and that was nice.
Yeah, you
Seeing it
get
going
yeah, you get a
from
mingle.
9997, 9998, 9999. Oh, 10,000. Is it going to go back to 9999? No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not. So, but that's not success. But that was nice to see. But
sure.
I don't go necessarily seeking likes. I just share my work. This is what I shot yesterday. Like it if you want to. So I don't really see that as success in any way. So
I don't
yeah, I
see
mean,
myself ever getting there because I keep blocking more new followers than I get because they're usually spam bots and
yeah. And yeah, if I was able to look at those 10,000 followers,
how
it's
many are
probably only going to be
actually active people
100 maybe.
for the art. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe 200 that are actually photographers, and then a few thousand that are really interested. Because like out of those 10,000 followers, I posted a photograph today and might have had 250 likes so far. What's that percentage wise?
yeah. It's
It's nothing. I can't really call any of that success. Yeah, I've entered competitions before. I've got a bit of success there. So yeah, I guess my biggest success was getting this job. When I was younger, I say I've been in IT since the age of 17 through to whatever it was, 30, 40, 43.
Yep.
And I also had this thing I wanted to work outdoors, but I never knew what it was at the time. Photography never even came in. Working in photography back then was never a thing because I think even back then, most people made money from photography from selling their photos through the online
Sure.
agencies. And
Sure.
then, but it was then when that became saturated, that's when people started doing the workshops. So yeah, there could have been success in that way.
Mm.
I just had this feeling that I wanted to work outdoors, but I didn't know what that was. Maybe, I'd been in Cub Scouts, as I'd been into archery and what have you. So maybe it was like an outdoor guide or something in some way or shape or form. So to been able to be given this opportunity to have the outdoors as my office, I guess that's
Yeah.
the biggest success to me so far. Maybe being able to work for myself. I have it easy here on
Yep.
Skye because I'm not the owner of the company. I don't have to bring the work in. Yes, we have the YouTube channel Photography Online, we have the podcast that brings in work, but
Yep.
I'm being paid to be on the video. So being able to do this on my own, which could hopefully be a longish term. I'm 52 now, so I'm not that, I've not got that many years. As long as I'm fit, I can still do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe one day in the future I'll be able to do it by myself. My biggest problem is marketing. Where do I start with that? I don't
Yeah.
know. So I'd have to learn the marketing side, which could come down to Instagram and whatever. I do have my own YouTube channel, but I don't post videos often enough. I only do a video when I think the conditions are going to produce good videos, sorry, good photos for the video. Not,
Yeah.
or I must produce a video this week, once a week, or whatever, and just put out something that some people may think my videos at the moment are mediocre. But I want to be producing good videos, sorry, good photographs for the video. So yeah, in turn, good videos, what I think might be good videos. So yeah.
Having spoken to a few YouTube photographers, and I don't like that term YouTube photographer because they're
Mm.
photographers first and foremost, and they just
Yes.
have YouTube. But a lot of people, a lot of them say that they get a lot of criticism that they're YouTubers first and photographers second, and the quality of the photography suffers. I disagree with that because at least the ones that I follow, mostly the photographic quality is up there. Yes, they do YouTube, and that's a way of marketing themselves and getting their name out there, which,
Yeah.
to be honest, I don't have a problem with. If it, I guess it's one of the struggles that everyone has is that you always have one or two. It may even be only one person makes that negative comment, but that's always the one that sticks in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. As you say, first and foremost, they are photographers, and like me, I just create the videos because I enjoy it. So like I
Yeah.
say, I'll only do it when I feel like I want to do one. But for the likes of, let's throw some names out there. Nigel Danson, for instance, he does workshops. Whether I don't know him personally. I've never met him. I'm only guessing that he may have, when he first started the channel, it was a way of marketing himself, like you
Yeah.
say. It's as a marketing tool. Michael Shenblum, he runs workshops. He produces beautiful photographs. I don't know if you're aware of
Absolutely.
Michael. But there is the odd person, I'm not going to name names. There's the odd person that I've seen who I've followed for a long time. I personally do think their photography has, let's say, fallen by the wayside a little bit. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's changed. And I just don't necessarily like the photographs that they're taking because how they have changed. I liked what I was seeing before and don't like
Yeah.
as much. We evolve, we change, don't we?
Absolutely.
So we
Yeah.
don't necessarily shoot the
Your
same thing,
taste
shoot the same way.
change, your
Yeah,
circumstances change. You decide, okay, I'm going to experiment with this for a while and see how it goes. And
yeah,
how you feel about your own photography makes a massive difference to
yeah.
what you're going to do with it in the future.
Yeah, first and foremost, you have to like what you're shooting yourself. And so I'm not going to force myself to produce any other type of photography than what I'd want to do for myself, whether it be for YouTube or for Instagram or whatever. I know a particular gentleman who has a gallery and he will sometimes put on X or Twitter, I'm out today shooting for the gallery. So it's not necessarily his style of photography he likes to shoot, but he also has to take the
He's
photographs
doing it for
for the
his
gallery because that's his
customers.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. I, I,
Take
I,
these photographs.
I think I would struggle as well
Yeah.
because I will put images up which nobody sees, for example, in a massive way, and then I'll put one that stylistically is where a lot of people's heads are at the moment, and that'll go off, and you'll get 900 likes or
Yeah.
whatever, Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But for me, the absolute joy of doing something that's a little bit different, that's my own, that I don't see a lot of other people doing, and you put it up there and you don't get a lot of reaction, you can take that as a negative, but I don't. I don't
Mm.
care, and it's
Yeah.
because not why I'm doing those sorts of images. I'm doing them because I enjoy the experience of being out there taking them, and I enjoy the experience of processing them
Yeah.
and sharing them. And yeah, okay, not everyone's going to want to have them on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one thing that I say to my customers pretty much every time. First and foremost, shoot for yourself.
Absolutely.
You have to, I can give you guidance about composition and whatever. It's not going to say that you're going to like that composition. If you don't like it, then let's compose it how you want to
That's right.
compose it, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, first and foremost, I will always, as well, you can never say always, but in my mind, in my head, I will always shoot for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It makes a big difference, I think, to your enjoyment and
Yes.
how you feel about what you're doing. That's the thing. Do
Yeah.
what feels good to you. Don't
Yeah.
do what you think will feel good for somebody else just for the
Yeah.
likes.
Just for likes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Indeed.
unless that's what you're chasing in your photography.
Exactly. Yeah. Which
I, I think
yeah, I'm
that's a
not.
bit of an empty goal.
Yeah, because if you are shooting for all the likes, how are you going to enjoy it? How are you going to enjoy the process? Like you say.
I want to talk a little bit about the business side of things, and obviously being an employee as opposed to being a sole trader
Yeah.
running their own
Yeah.
business. You mentioned there's a lot of pressure that's not on you in terms of bringing in business and doing the marketing and doing all of the bits and pieces. One of the things that I've talked about to a lot of photographers in those sort of circumstances where they've gone professional is that they do have to wear lots of hats. Can you see yourself taking that on?
I would like to, for sure. Yeah, yeah. So, in my past, I've made a lot of changes to my life,
Mhm.
various things, whether it's moving here, moving there. So I'm not adverse to change.
Sure.
But obviously, as you get older, you have to think, you're probably thinking bit more about that future. Like I say, I'm in my 50s now,
Yep.
retirement age, whatever retirement age is. I guess retirement age for me would be as long as
Oh,
when
you can
I
keep going
can't
till
walk
you
up a
till
mountain
you
or
can't
whatever.
get
Yeah.
it.
So yeah, I would like to think that I could do it if I set my mind to it. I just
Yeah.
need to give it that shot at some point. So
Mm.
watch this space.
Okay. Well,
Marcus is going to be
definitely
listening to
will.
this.
What about what people could expect on a workshop with you? What are the main things that you're focusing on for your clients?
It's all down to the customer. Yeah, so we offer various workshops, various levels. So we'll say anything from beginner to what we call a pro workshop, but don't take that as in it's not to make you a pro or anything. It's not for pros. It's just different levels, we call it.
Yeah.
So every workshop is tailored. A beginner can book themselves in the workshop if they want because we give them 2 days to get the workshop over based around
Yep.
weather. So they pay a bit more. But it's very much tailored. So it's discussing with them either beforehand or on the day of the workshop what it is they want out of the workshop. Because until you know that, you don't know where you can go. Because they may know, I'd say there's maybe two different types of struggles. People that are creative but don't know anything about the technical side, or people that are really know the technical side but just are not creative at all. You can teach everyone something. Even all of us are always learning anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's very much tailored to the individual or individuals, whether it be a group workshop or not,
Mm.
that what they want. Obviously, it gets a bit more difficult when you have got a group because there's different levels. So you've got to remember what this person wants, what this person wants, what this person wants. Yeah, but it could be anything, yeah, from composition, which is one for me, it's not for me, but I think it is one of the hardest things you can teach.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can show you composition from this location, what we do, but obviously which transfers over to other locations, but they may think, oh, I'm not going to get this midground, that background, this foreground to the location that I go to next time. So yeah, it could be composition, and then yeah, just the technical side. Like I said before, it could be just anything, depth of field. Obviously, exposure is one of the biggest things. Yeah, understanding light, It's amazing. You can be standing there waiting for the light, and I might not even looking at the sky thing. I might just doing something in my bag or whatever. And I said, "Do you notice that?" Because he goes, "What? The light's just changed." Really? And it's amazing, how so many people are actually aware of those subtle changes in light.
Yeah, yeah,
So just understanding things that are going around you, even just things that are going around you, going on around you. And also looking at the sky, if you're waiting for light, looking at the sky, you see a break where the sun is, the clouds moving in that direction. 5 minutes time, whatever it may be, the sun will hopefully be in that gap. Let's get set up ready. Just those little things as well. So yeah, just all aspects, even if it's whether it's they want to learn long exposures, what have you, anything that the customer wants to learn, hopefully, I can teach them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice. And in terms of that ability to customize, I think that's a really important
Mm.
part of it because everyone's at a different point in their photography journey. They're not all rank beginners, they're not all absolute pros. And I think having that customizable factor to a workshop makes a massive difference.
Oh
How
yeah,
much
for sure.
time are you spending with the customer beforehand before you actually get out into the field to understand where they're at and what it is that they're trying to get out of it?
Can vary, but most of it will just be emails. So it could
Yeah.
be starting. So when they email the company, someone basically responds to those initial emails.
Yep.
And then she will then put into her online diary, Nick doing, I don't know, was it February 26th, let's say, 2 days' time, I've got a workshop with Bob, Mary, whatever it might be. So then 2 days beforehand, I receive the emails from this person, and then I basically get in touch with the customer. Hi, blah, blah, blah. Because we don't tend to get in touch, or I don't get in touch too long before that because we don't know what the weather's going to be doing
Yeah. Yeah.
until 24 hours before the workshop, especially on Skye. There's no point in making any plans the week before. And I find that's 48 hours is more than enough, as long as they can respond to the emails. Sometimes I have to chase up by a WhatsApp message because obviously I appreciate people are in transit if they come from the US, Australia, obviously you're traveling, so I may give a bit more time in that respect.
Sure.
So
Sure.
just yeah, the initial email, we already probably know at this stage, because normally when they do email, they give a little bit of background anyway, and there's some initial questions asked about gear, just even gear they use, even just
Yep.
fitness levels, because some of the locations here require a little bit of fitness. So when I
Yep.
know that, whether I think they can go up the old man store, but people's fitness is obviously what you think your fitness is like compared to what actually is in reality is
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different. So
I know
and
my knees would struggle with the old man store.
something like the Kerrang, it's the beauty of the Kerrang, you can walk 5 minutes from the car
Yeah.
park. You can walk 15, 20, 25 minutes and you can get great views. So you don't have to have full marathon runner fitness or whatever. And
Sure.
if you've got bad knees, you can walk 5 minutes. As long as you can walk over slight uneven terrain, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, just those initial email conversations with them, get a rough idea of what they want to get out of the workshop. But if I end up picking them up to go to the sun, sometimes we'll meet them at a certain location, or I may have to go and pick them up. So even just driving to the location because it might be half an hour, or even just walking from the car park to where we're going to set up the camera. There's obviously that initial conversation there, or some of the conversation there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you learnt about the world through photography? What has landscape photography changed in your life other than the
Oh,
job?
the fact that I've been able to I haven't traveled far, although the US,
Sure.
let's say many countries. So I've been to the Dolomites, I've been to Iceland, not on work. I've been to Dolomites for work, US for work, and some of the other Scottish islands and what have you. So it's been able to see all these different places, obviously
Yeah.
not necessarily around the world, but different places, yeah, around the world at the Iceland from a photographic point of view, and just seeing how it differs. I've been to a few other places in the US, but I say our trip is the America Southwest, so Utah, Arizona, this year New Mexico. So yeah, just being able to see those different landscapes, appreciating it. For me, a lot of it's about appreciating what it is and
Yeah.
seeing our location. That's sometimes something that we as photographers fail to do, I think, is actually take the time to take in what it is we know where we actually are.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we can be running around like a headless chicken. Oh, the light, let's get set up, let's get set up.
You can't
Photo
without
frame.
the shot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, and also when you watch with the Instagrammers, they've seen or the TikTokers, let's say, let's get
Yeah.
new generation TikTokers, they've seen that photo already. They go there, taking the selfie at the location, whatever, and that's it.
Yep.
Are they actually aware of where they are, the beauty of the landscape?
Yeah.
Probably not. So yeah, that for me,
Yeah, it's
yeah, landscape.
surprising. I'm usually at a location for minimum of an hour, depending on what the light's
Yeah,
like. If it's sideways driving rain, I'm usually hidden in the car. But when you see these people walk up, as you say, to the point of beauty, you've been there for half an hour, you're going to be there at least another half an hour, possibly another 2 or 3 hours if the
yeah,
light's
yeah.
going off. Walk down, click, and walk away. And it's, were you even here? Yes, you've got a shot that says you were, but it doesn't look like you enjoyed it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
At least not in the way that I enjoy it anyway.
No, exactly. And I see that so often here. 'Cause obviously, Skye is incredibly busy, especially in the summer.
Yeah,
The beauty for me in the summer on Skye is that I hardly see a person because the sun rises at 4:30 in the morning.
yeah,
If I'm out in the workshop, I'll be home maybe 8, 9 o'clock. People are just coming out of the hotels, their bed and breakfast, their Airbnbs, whatever it may be.
yeah.
I see more people at sunset, granted, but yeah, so that's one good thing. I don't see them all so early. But yeah, when you do see them, like I say, you just think, oh, yeah, just mind boggles sometimes. They've paid all this money to come to this beautiful island. Not just Skye, anywhere. And Australia, Sydney, whatever, the Sydney Harbour, they've got the bridge, the Opera House or whatever it behind them, and they just take that photo and they're not.
That's it.
I'm
That's
sure
their
if
it's done. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure if I was stood there, I'd be like, wow, look at the magnitude of the bridge or whatever. You may just think, oh, yeah, it's just a bridge. If you've lived there for so long, I'll probably.
I love it though because
Yeah,
I have taken many shots around the harbour, and it is hard to find something that's a little bit unique. You've got to get the right conditions where
yeah,
there's that sort of thing, but you can still do it. And
yeah,
there's also angles that I haven't shot. I know that I haven't shot, and there's places that I want to get to do those shoots that are on my list, and
yeah,
I'll get there. And whether it's the
yeah,
bridge or the opera house, and there's details as well that you can zoom in on with a long lens or get up close to in certain circumstances that a lot of people just walk past and don't look at, but have their
yeah,
own geometry or unique beauty that is really worth taking a shot of.
yeah.
And so I don't think I'm anywhere near finished with Sydney, despite the fact that I've lived here most of my life,
Yeah.
and some people might say shot it to death.
But that's good. You haven't become complacent about the place that you live. I get asked the question all the time, do you get bored of coming here all the time? No.
How could you?
No, exactly. As you said, you'll see it in fog, you'll see it in sunshine, you'll see it in sideways rain
Yeah,
not every day, but let's use the cliche phrase, every day it's different. It will be different in some way. So how
absolutely.
can you get bored of a location from that? So
Definitely, definitely. You've talked a little bit about some of your very memorable experiences. Have you had any horror stories out in the field?
one one which sticks to mind, so I kind of guessed this. So, and I was trying to think horror stories. Yes, one that really sticks in my head. I don't really. Well, I suppose for me it was a horror story. It was actually dropping a lens. So
That's
it
pretty
was
horrible.
yeah, yeah. It was a month after I bought it.
Oh,
So it was actually it was after I'd gone mirrorless. So I got the Canon R5, and a month after I got their RF 70 to 200 2.8 lens. So this is just over £2,000. I was at the Kerrang. I've got a really nice shot with a 50 mm lens on, and I just wanted to switch lenses to just zoom in because it was a small shaft of light which came and hit the
yeah,
landscape. I wanted to zoom in more and then just get a different shot. So normally what I would do is I'd take the camera off the tripod to the bag, change lenses of the bag. Now my
right.
tripod was on the edge of a hill. That morning, for whatever reason, I think it's just because I wanted to rush, because obviously that small amount of light, it could be gone like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So I ran to the bag, got the lens, and I'm trying to take one lens out while I have the other lens in my hand, and it just slipped out of my hand. The 7200 just slipped out of my hand. I was I'm on the edge of a hill, just went doink, 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 all the way down to the bottom. So there's me running after down the steep hill after this lens. Picked it up. Now the front and the lens cap and the end cap were both off.
Okay.
There was no damage to any glass whatsoever. There was a little scratch on the tripod collar. It's a short telephoto zoom lens. It's got a
Yeah.
tripod collar on it. That was it. So I thought there was no dents or anything, which is surprised because the terrain's so rocky down there. And I thought, okay, I'll clean it off when I get home. I'll try it out. It wouldn't focus. I could hear the autofocus motor working, but it just wouldn't come into focus. Same with manually, it just wouldn't come into focus. So sent it off for an estimate, and the estimate was £2,000 repair.
That's a new lens.
Yeah, so luckily I do have insurance because it's
Yeah.
tools of my
Thank
trade, so
God.
to speak. So I do have insurance. Yeah, and actually, you probably can't see it. There it is there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So because it was during COVID, the insurance company would normally have the item that was broken.
Yep.
But because it was during COVID, it was 2020, for them, too many people had touched it. So they weren't taking the gear in. So I said, can I have it? So if you want to pay for the postage to have it shipped from the repair company, you can have it.
Yeah.
So it now serves as a reminder in my bookcase there of what not to do. So yeah, it was a bit of a horrid time. Just I was like a few expletives came out of my mouth to begin with, but then it's well, you can't control what's happened, Nick. Just got
Yeah.
to laugh about it now,
There's
But
I'm not a fan of changing lenses because I do a lot of seascapes where I'm knee deep in water, and so
yeah.
just I've actually killed my camera for the third time. It's had two sets of innards already,
Oh,
and I killed it again last week, and I'm waiting to hear what the estimate on fixing it's going to be, and whether or not it's time to move from the DSLR to mirrorless.
so is this a sensor, is it? Was it just going to be
No, it just won't switch on.
oh, okay. Oh, so
So
electronics.
first sign was the back screen was flickering, and I was thinking, oh, maybe it's
Yeah.
a swivel back screen, so
Yeah.
maybe it's the leads have come undone or broken or something just in usage, and then it would not switch off. So you'd
Okay.
switch it off, but the power was still on.
Yeah. So you had to take a
Your
battery out.
LCD screen still
Yeah.
showed, and then you'd switch it, you'd take the battery out and reset it, and then eventually it just wouldn't restart.
Ah,
It's I'd say it's corroded innards again, and
right.
because as I said, I've done it twice before. This is my third time, so
I guess you don't have a second camera backup now.
I do. But
Oh,
it's
okay.
yeah, it's an old DSLR, and it doesn't have all the good features that I like. Doesn't have Wi-Fi connectivity because I if I am doing a long exposure, then I can just use my phone
Yeah.
and make it do whatever I want it to do, apart from
Yeah.
changing modes, which you've still got to touch the camera for. But it means I can be
Yeah.
completely hands off the camera, and therefore there's absolutely no movement, and unless a wave comes and hits the tripod and takes stuff away.
Yeah.
But I've been really lucky. Touch wood, that hasn't happened yet. I'm usually standing right on it, and if a wave comes, I'm holding it down.
Yeah.
Or if the wave's getting bigger, then lifting it up.
Tripods up. Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yeah, been chest deep before in a wave
Oh,
with the tripod over the head. Luckily, my backpack is waterproof. I've got a sling
mm.
bag that
Yeah.
I bought it deliberately because I don't want to have a bag back up on the beach somewhere. I can just
Yeah.
swing this around, change lenses, change filters, and all that sort of thing. Swing it
Yeah.
back, and I'm away. But it's not fun when you
Mm.
lose a lens though,
Yeah,
or
I've,
a
I've
camera.
actually bought a yeah, I've actually got a second camera myself now because my R5 started having troubles and it ended up actually having to be repaired. So I
Yeah,
got the R6 Mark II just before that, so I had to use it for about 3 months while I was in for repair.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's if you can, it's good to
Get,
have a
get
second
two
body, but they're
bodies.
not cheap. They're
No,
not
this
cheap
is it.
camera gear.
They're not a throwaway item, really.
Definitely not. It's a luxury to have. I can't always afford it, but I needs must and all this, and the credit
Yeah.
card gets a hit for a while. So
Eventually you pay it off. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm interested in how people approach their processing. You get back from your trip out, and are you straight into editing? Are you one to leave things to marinate for a bit? How do you go about it?
As soon as the bag hits the floor, the bag's open. So there's my Shimoda there. It's
Yep.
open still. Yeah, the camera's straight out. I'm like, okay, I'll get a shower. I'll make a coffee, I'll have my breakfast if I'm out for sunrise. But no, that never happens. It's computer on, card in. I like to process. I won't obviously won't be all the shots I've taken. It'll be the ones that when I'm out in the field, I'll quite often use the star rating on my camera. I give it a 5-star rating. The ones that stand out for me in the back of the camera.
Yeah,
So when I
yeah,
get into Lightroom, so I will look at those ones first, and I may do one or two process because I like to just share. I say Instagram, Facebook, whatever it might be, just share what I've taken this morning. And so yeah, I'm pretty much straight on it. And it's also from the point that I can remember what, because as I mentioned before, I like to process in a way that's what I sort time of capture.
yeah.
I won't necessarily remember that 2 months down the line. I quite often take phone videos at the time as well, so I'll have a
Okay.
rough idea. Not necessarily for that reason, but it has become a couple of times. So we got a
Yeah,
beautiful, vibrant, actually deep red sunrise last week, and the other half was processed. And she goes, "Was it like that? It just looks too violent." And I showed her my video and says, "This is what it was like. This is what I remember. This is what the video looks like." So yeah. Obviously, there's photos in my catalog that I haven't processed
yeah,
that
yeah,
now and again I'll go back to and yeah, process. But for the most part, if I think I've had a good morning, good evening, whatever it might be, I'll be straight on it.
yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Are you the same?
Pretty much. I'm
Yeah.
normally, it might not be that day, depends on what I've
What?
been shooting and what else I've got on and what the wife's got on for me. So it does really depend. But usually I'm at least in and having a look
Yeah.
and going, okay, yep, that's worth an edit. That's not. And I'll take at least a very good look at what I'm doing. I make sure backup is really the main reason why I'm
Yes.
straight into that is just to
Yeah.
make sure that it's off the card on a hard drive. And if I'm at home, I know my hard drive's being backed up. I have both a separate external drive doing backup here, but
Yeah.
I use a service called Carbonite to do backups as well, and I make sure that everything's in at
Yeah.
least three places.
Yeah.
If I'm out and about and it's on the laptop, then I carry an external drive with that so that it's in at least two places until I get back. Yeah, I want to make sure that I've got
Mm.
at least two backups if I'm out and about with the
Yeah.
laptop.
Have you
Uh,
ever had an SD card fail on you?
I've been fairly lucky, and
Right. Yeah.
I,
Same here.
I haven't had one other than where the camera got saturated
Mm.
and everything got fried. So
Yeah.
even there, luckily, I've been able to recover some of the images, not all of them. It depends on how what's happened to the card, but that's the only time where a card has actually failed is where
Yeah.
the camera got saturated by a wave, and I had to change basically everything then. But yeah, no, I'm all about making sure that it's backed up. But then again, similar to you, I like to if I'd been out, say, this morning at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever, probably a bit early for some shots this morning, but I would be doing at least maybe one or two edits out of that shoot just to so that I've got a reference point around
Yes.
where the light was. And but there's other times where it might be 3, 4 days
Yeah.
before I get into it. And again, like every photographer, I think I've got an archive of hundreds or even thousands of the shots that I didn't think were good enough at the time, but I have come back to sometime. Oh, that's actually better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Didn't
It's just
look
interesting when
so
that
exciting in the
happens.
back of the camera,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's quite interesting when that happens. You might go back 2, 3, 4, 5 years and you go,
Yeah,
oh, I remember that day, but I didn't think anything of it. So, but luckily, I didn't delete it at the time. Let's
yeah.
see
Well, I
what can
don't
become
delete
of it.
anything that isn't out of focus or
Mm,
isn't completely too dark
yeah,
to recover
yeah,
or isn't overblown because I was set for a very long exposure before I
yeah,
took the shot that shouldn't have been set up. I had the ISO up too high or something.
yeah. I'm pretty much the same. Yeah, I had a few last week that were just not sharp because I say in the wind, even with stabilization, with the
Yeah,
IBIS and the lens, just I could feel the wind behind hitting my back, and I was trying to take 2, 3, 4 shots at a time. I thought one of these will be sharp, and luckily they were. But yeah, delete, delete. that one's keeping.
I've actually used an umbrella as a windbreak on a couple of occasions in bad wind conditions, but
Yeah.
even then, it's not a great solution when it's really windy.
Yeah, quite often up in the mountains as well, you can find that it can swirl around. It won't just
Yeah,
be one
exactly.
direction. Yeah, so it just
Yeah, you'll
yeah.
get this gust that sort of hits you from the side or from face on
Yeah,
all of a sudden. Yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever struggled to find inspiration with your photography?
I don't think so. Again, I thought this may come up. Uh, I've not had periods, and you hear some photographers say I've lost my mojo. I've never felt like that as such. Sometimes I'll be out, I've gone out, and I'll get home and I'll see the photographs very good at all. I've
Yeah.
done something wrong. So only kind of that thing. I've never really I've not lost inspiration in any way.
Right.
I love being outdoors. I just
Yeah.
love going out. So I'll go out for a walk, but just take the camera with me. So take the camera for a walk. And if something strikes me at the time, I'll photograph it, whatever it may be, and it may not be an amazing photograph. It's just that moment in time that I liked at the time.
Yeah.
But for me, the inspiration never goes because I just do enjoy being out there so much.
Yeah.
But being on Skye, that's not always possible. Being in the Scottish Highlands is not always possible. We had although it actually ended up being a nice evening. It was a bit wild this morning, wet and wild this morning. I wouldn't want to be out in that. But yeah, I don't think I've ever lost any major inspiration for wanting to take photo. Oh no, I'm a liar.
Okay.
I'm going back in time. Oh, yeah, 2005. So
Right.
2005, 2010, 2005, I did actually lose interest in photography.
Wow. Okay.
So I had the most amazing week of wildlife photography on a small island called the Isle of May, which is off the Edinburgh coast. I was one of, I think it was five photographers who'd been given permission to stay on the island for the week. So we stayed in the old lighthouse there
Yeah.
and
Right.
basically photographing seabirds. So predominantly puffins. You were basically walking down the path, and there was basically the puffins were just like there, right at
Yeah.
your feet. So it was
Right.
kind of most amazing week. So I was living in Peterborough at the time. I say flat as a pancake and all that. And for whatever reason, I can't even think back, can't put my finger on it, but the camera never came out of its bag for a while. And I said, okay. And I sold all my gear. And I, for whatever reason, I threw out all the slides that I'd shot previously. I used to shoot in slide film. I've not got any of them left. All I've got is what I had scanned in, which was maybe 20, 30
Yeah. Wow.
out of all the slides I had. It was just a major crisis or whatever. I don't know what it was. And I got into cycling.
Right.
I bought I bought a mountain bike, and that's yeah. So for 5 years, I didn't have a camera, and it was moving up to the northeast of England. So I'd been living in London after Peterborough. I moved to London for 2 years, and then I moved up to northeast of England to do a degree in web development. And it was just basically going down the beach with my phone, taking phone photos, and then just that something clicked again, and then I started again from there. So yeah, so 5 year period, I had no
No.
inspiration to
Yeah.
photographs. Yeah, so just it was a long time ago. So yeah, more recently, no, I've never had any kind of loss of inspiration to
Right.
want to go out and take photographs.
What do you see as being the biggest challenge facing photographers now?
The biggest challenge. Oh, an interesting question. Just for photographers in general, from a obviously there's many technical point of view. I think challenge gear. I think a lot of I might be wrong here, but I think a lot of photographers starting out think that it's the gear will help them. So challenge, I guess is the challenge of buying that gear, whatever the expense of buying it, it'll make them a better photographer. But obviously we all know that's not the case.
Yeah, you can take a
Um,
great shot with a pinhole box brownie or
yeah, I've put on my Facebook page, it's not there, it's in the room next door, selling an old little Canon M50, one of the little small ones that I used to use for video. And I just put makes a great first camera, £200, and someone's bought it. Actually, he bought it for video, but
yeah,
because that's
yeah.
what I used to use when I started my. I don't know if I really answered your question properly or not.
Every answer's a good one.
I'm trying to think for myself what my greatest challenge has been. No, I can't really think of anything outside of what I've just said.
No, that's all right. No problem at all. What do you see as the future of photography?
It's definitely not AI. Hopefully not AI. Hopefully not.
Yeah, well, it is for some
Uh,
marketers, I think.
oh yeah, I was listening to some things. I think we were listening to podcasts. I think it was Nick Page. Nick Page listened to one of his, although he doesn't do them anymore. Was it Nick? Was it Nick? Or was he on one?
Might have been. I think
Yeah,
he
because
was.
he's not done one. He's not done his own ones for a while. But anyway, yeah, I think it was Nick talking about it. Yeah, so for me, for you, photography is fun. We get the enjoyment out of it, whatever it may be.
Yeah,
You don't get that out of AI. So future photography, just hopefully more of the same. I don't know, it seems a very, I know you said no answer is the wrong answer. I think it's a very weak answer. Just
no,
more of the same,
there's
especially
no.
for me personally, more of the same, please.
Yeah,
And progressing. As I mentioned earlier, we're all, whether we're a professional, I hate it, whether a professional photographer, amateur, well, exactly. I just get paid to cheat. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so yeah, continue to learn, whether that be from a different aspect of photography. I'd like to do personally doing more wildlife. Not get back into it, but do more wildlife. But I've only got a 100 to 400 lens.
mm,
Need a bit more reach for some subjects. So yeah, I think just for me personally, future photography is hopefully doing this for myself, doing the workshops for myself.
yeah, sure.
So I get a lot of enjoyment. I don't see it as a job, and I
Yep,
think that's one of the main things.
they're the best jobs.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're hard to come by. I didn't
Yeah,
enjoy the web development. It paid the way, bought me camera gear. But yeah, I get so much enjoyment out of teaching people, meeting all these different people. I used to work in a bicycle shop in London. I met loads of different people in there, and that's what I got the enjoyment from that job. So again, this is a customer facing job again, but just seeing those moments where, oh, the histogram. I always find it's one of the biggest things with people. Once they know that even the histogram exists on the back of the camera,
yep,
and then when show them how to understand it, how to use it in terms of the exposure,
yeah, yeah.
and they just go away think, oh my God, this has just changed my photography. And it's amazing how just this one little thing is going to change them. And I've gone off on a digression in your
No,
question.
no,
Sorry, Grant.
it's all good.
It's just one of those things where I get and talk about something and I just go off and on.
Pardon me. What's the best and or worst piece of advice anyone's ever given you?
The worst piece, I'll start with the worst. I'll try to think what the worst piece of advice. I don't think I've had any worst piece of advice. I can't think of that, but the best piece would be learn your camera. I
Mm,
used to always say, just get out there. And I always thought that was a bit weak, just get out there and do it. But
yeah,
actually, that goes along with. But another one is learning your camera. And again, I heard it on a pod just last couple of days because when we were going to the mountains, we had an hour drive most times. So it was good enough for most podcasts. Listened to a few of yours as well. And
I had
yeah,
someone listening.
I had listened to some before as well, don't get me wrong. But it's good for driving podcasts. I listen to cycling
Yeah,
podcasts, yeah, what have you. So learning your camera, what where all the just even so you're holding the I'm a bit of an advocate of using a tripod, but I
yeah,
do handhold when it's necessary. If I am reacting to light,
sure.
take a shot handheld, then put on a tripod. But if you don't know where the buttons are, you know which button dial your thumb is near to, your forefinger, whatever it may be, you're not going to get the shot because you're
Yeah,
not going to remember how to change your aperture, what changes your exposure time, how to change your ISO, whatever. You shoot in astrophotography. You're not going to put a head torch on, do you, to
ah,
light up the back of your camera to find all your buttons?
absolutely.
I've even heard some people say don't use a red
Particularly not
light.
when you're shooting with other people.
Oh God, yeah. When we were in the US, my last trip was 2023 there. Even one customer, she was having a go at us for using the red light on the
Oh
head
wow.
torch.
Yeah.
Because the piece of advice she was given was actually just use your phone.
Oh,
Just
wow.
activate your phone, not actually the
Oh, yeah, the
flashlight, but
screen
just
of the phone. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's so faint, just hold
Yeah,
that generally around your camera. But if you don't need to actually use a light, so you know where the play button is, you know where the zoom in button is, so learn your camera.
yeah,
Learn where all the buttons are. I don't mean learn your camera from how to shoot it, how to get what the exposure triangle at, where everything is on it, so that
yeah.
you know
Understand where you and what control.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
absolutely.
that's me is one of the biggest. I can't think what the worst piece of advice is. No, I don't know whether I've be think.
Doesn't matter.
I'll email you. If I can think of it, I'll email you. You can put it in the show notes or something.
Fair enough. Are there any photographers out there that you think I should be talking to?
Yes. So have you heard of Martin Rack? R-A-K.
I have heard of Martin.
I
Yes.
don't think he's been on before because I did actually. I've thought of a few
No,
people
he's
and I kind
he's,
of did.
he's
Yeah.
I haven't actually asked him yet. He is on the
Right.
list, but
Yeah.
I'm well aware of his work, and
Right.
I think
So
he's
he's from the
an
Czech
amazing.
Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you know the name Rain Hayes, Hayes. So Rain as in raindrops. She's a
Yep.
female photographer from the US,
I don't think I've.
specializes in infrared.
Okay.
Very interesting. Anything from landscapes to close-up photography, especially her close-up. I know this is obviously a landscape photography podcast, but she does do infrared landscapes. But when you see her close-up stuff, it's absolutely amazing as well from the
Awesome.
infrared style and that. So check her out. There's UK photographers, obviously, I've just given two outside the UK. Dylan Nardini, don't know if you
Okay.
know
I
the
haven't
name.
seen Dylan's
Yep,
work.
Scottish photographer. I would say, although I think I said earlier on about not having a style, but his style resonates with me. What even some, oh, I wish I could, even with from the point of view, wish I could. It's that old thing. I wish I could have taken that photograph. You probably could have if you're in the right place. If you're in the right place, right time, you could have taken that photograph.
That's
But being
right.
able to see that photograph sometime.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Dylan Nardini, Mike Prince. I'm probably going to run off all these names. Mike Prince is another photographer I really like as well. I think
Yep.
he's English, but he spends a lot of time in Scotland. So
Right.
that's maybe why he spends a lot of time in Torridon, Assynt, and things like that. So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
hopefully I've given you a couple of names there that you can try and get
That's
on.
brilliant.
It'd be interesting to hear that people that I really like their work here answering the similar questions and how their own approach to photography as well.
I've got one more question, and it's
Huh?
one that I've been asking from pretty much the beginning. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
No,
Fair enough. It's not for everyone.
it's not. I have had an occasion, but I don't think it's supposed to be on a pizza.
Okay. Okay.
Is it the Hawaiian, isn't
Yeah,
it?
usually
It
called a
has the
Hawaiian.
pineapple. Yeah, yeah. But not for me, no.
Thank you so much, Nick. I've
Thank
enjoyed
you, Grant.
spending time
Thank
with
you. I
you.
enjoyed it as
Where
well.
where can people find your work?
So nickhanson.co.uk. There is a nickhanson.com, and I'm not sure if he's a photographer. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But yeah, nickhanson.co.uk. Instagram, it's if you just basically Nick Hanson photography, it will come up. You'll recognize me with a blue beanie hat. That's
Fair
how
enough.
people recognize me. We're one and the same, but I have colder weather, so I've normally got a beanie hat on.
Yeah, yeah. I wear it when I need to. Well, thanks very much, Nick. Fantastic talking
Thank
to you.
you, Grant. Thank you for asking me to do this. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks very much. Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast on grantswinburnphotography.com. I'm also on Vero, Photo, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.